enjoyed the song as much as I did. What a great way to start the day and to start the session. So as you know, we've been taking part for 8 weeks in this community of practice, and this is not the end. It's only just the beginning of more sessions, really, if you think about it, because now you're going to be taking it up from here and having meetings about what you've learned, using what you're taking away in some way back in your departments. So, and there will be future meetings as well of this community of practice. But for right now, this is the 8th workshop, and we're going to not have a workshop next week. We're going to give you time now to implement what you are learning. So we hope that over the course of these 8 weeks, you have been developing a stronger understanding of what works in competency-based learner-centered education in heterogeneous contexts, according to practices and data from sub-Saharan Africa. And we hope that you've been learning about more policy and practice options in competency-based education. So what kind of policies and practices that you could learn about and adopt, perhaps in your own departments, in your own education sectors. And we also hope that you've been learning and developing partnerships with others in this space. We have political actors here, we have educators, teacher educators, we have researchers in this group. This is a rich group of contacts that you would want to stay in touch with, we hope, on WhatsApp and through email, even after we end the final workshop today. So we've been learning about lots of different areas. These are some of the ideas, some of the topics that we've learned about in the last couple of weeks. We can take a walk down memory lane. The first day we met, we were mapping out core competencies for students and developing competency-based curriculum. We've learned about experiential learning, ICT integration, data usage for assuring quality, formative assessment, and teacher professional development and in-service and pre-service education. And we'll be picking up on that topic again today. So today's topic is going to be implementing competency-based curriculum and approaches in teacher preparation, education, and professional development. So we're welcoming back the team from the Tanzania Institute of Education today to take us through this topic. And we're also going to be hearing from Professor Betty Azati, who's a very good colleague, and she's going to be presenting on her experience from Uganda about implementing competency-based curriculum in teacher education programs. So let's look at the agenda for today. What will we be doing? So we're going to look at the long-term assignment, the assignment that we're asking you to submit by August 4th. We'll take a look at that together, and we'll see if you have any questions about that. Then we're going to think about how we were trained as teachers. Those of us who have gone through teacher training programs, pre-service programs or in-service programs or both, what was our experience like and how were we taught? I think it's gonna be really interesting to hear about how we were taught, because I'm wondering what the link is between how we were taught and how we have taught others. Then we're going to have a discussion about our experiences in the main group, the main room. And then we'll hear from Professor Betty Azati about Uganda's experience in implementing CPC. And we'll talk about that. And then we're going to have a presentation by the TIE team. Dr. Fika and Mr. Mahando will take us through that, some strategies and some practices in implementing CBC and teacher programs. And then we'll have a breakout room discussion for 30 minutes about one of these 4 questions, so you can have a chance to discuss them. And then we'll come back to the main room and talk about what we've learned and what we've discussed. And then there'll be a closing survey. And today's survey is going to be a little bit longer because we'd like to hear about what you think about not only today's session, but these sessions overall. And it's really important that you take it because it's going to help us to better serve you and improve our work so that we're here to support you. Okay, without any further ado, I'm going to take us through the assignment. So I hope you've had a chance to see it in the Google Drive folder. So in the WhatsApp group that we have, we have shared a link to this Google Drive folder. This is a folder that's specific to this community of practice, and you're able to access all of the recordings and all of the resources here, the presentations with the discussion group questions in them, and any other materials that have been shared, such as research and worksheets. So as a reminder, we have sessions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll have session 8 today uploaded here later on today. And if you open up the folder, you'll see that there's a link to the recording. There's a link to the PowerPoint that was shared by the Tanzania Institute of Education team, and also a link to any other PowerPoints that were shared by countries, in this case, Ghana in workshop 1. And any other worksheets that were shared will be here as well. Now, I want to show you the assignment document. So if you look down here, the last document here is titled Assignment, Developing Plan for Action in Competency-Based Education. Let's click on that. Okay, I hope you can see it now. This is what the assignment document looks like. And we're asking you to go over here to the file and then to download it as a Word document. So if you see, I went to the left and I clicked on File and then Download and then Word document like this. And then you can download it in your computer and you can then type on it and then edit it for yourself. We're asking you to label it with your name in the title and then submit it back to us by August 4th. So here are the instructions. Let's take a look at them closely. This is an assignment to design a plan for strengthening competency-based education and curriculum in low-resource contexts. So you are expected to gain an appreciation of the significance of practical countrywide experiences like case studies and your own ideas and views, and to engage in designing a plan. So this is your plan document. And if you submit this document to the facilitators at this email address, which is listed here in the instructions, it's kix.icba@unesco.org. If you submit this document, your assignment, and if you attend at least 7 out of the 8 workshops, or show that you have made up for your missed attendance by sending in your responses to the breakout room discussion questions, then you will get a certificate of participation. So again, you have to do these 2 things to get your certificate. One of them is to submit your completed plan on this document. And the other one is to show that you have attended 7 out of the 8 workshops, at least 7. And if you miss a workshop, then you can send your responses to the breakout room questions to the same email address, kix.icba@unesco.org. Okay. Let's take a look at the instructions very briefly, and then we'll see if you have any questions. So this assignment document is meant to support you. It's not meant to be extra work. And it's been here in Google Drive for the past 7 weeks. So we hope that you had a chance to look at it before now. But it's not meant to be like extra homework or anything. It's meant to be a support to you because you joined this community of practice because of some reason, of your desire to learn, of your desire to improve upon your strengths. So this document will help you to make that step to get there if you use it in the way that it was intended. So if you think about it, we all have some specialty or some area that we are either most interested in or working in more closely. So maybe we are working more closely in formative assessment and or summative assessment. Or maybe we're working more closely in data and quality assurance. Or maybe we're working more closely in curriculum design. So think about what area you have felt most interested in or that most closely aligns to your work in these 8 sessions. So the 8 session topics are here. Pick one of them, maybe 2 of them. We don't expect you to pick all 8 of them. You're welcome to if you want to, but it'd be better if we go deeper rather than wider. So pick 1 or 2 topics according to your professional specialization, and then answer the questions down below, and it will include how to make a plan for how you want to strengthen your education system using this community of practice. So for example, let's say that you picked up on topic number 1. Maybe you're working in curriculum design and you want to focus on how to map out students' core competencies and implement competency-based curricula. Maybe you're going to do these 2 topics. So the questions here are 4. There are questions A, B, C, and D for each of these 8 topics. When you download the document, you can type directly in this box here to answer each of these 4 questions. The length of your responses is going to be up to you. You may want to write half a page. You may want to write a full page for each question, question 1, and then the 4 different sub-questions could be included in on 1 page or maybe half a page or even 2 pages. It's really going to be up to you how much you want to write. We're looking for your understanding here. Okay, so the questions are similar for each of the 4 or each of the 8 topics in blue. What are the factors influencing identification of core competencies? So what kind of factors should influence the way that we identify competencies for students? And then how do you develop the core competencies in students? How would we do this? Do we do it through competency-based education, curriculum, assessment? How do you do this? How would you develop their competencies? How would you ensure quality in this implementation of core competencies? So how would you ensure that we are achieving quality in competency-based education? And then prepare a simple plan to facilitate your colleagues in developing students' core competencies. So who would you need to work with? What would you need to do? And what kind of information or support would you need in order to enact your plan? So it's similar for each of the 8 different topics. And again, this is to support you as you use this community of practice to work for education reform in your contexts. We're hoping that you make a plan on this document. So I'll stop here and I'll see if there are any questions, but again, you can go up here to the File button. And again, we're in Google Drive right now. So if you go up to File and then Download, you can download the Word document and you can fill this out with your particular questions. And then you can submit it to us by August 4th. That's 1 week from today. So, and finally, if you have any questions about this, you can email the same email address, kix.icbud@udesco.org, or you can ask questions in the WhatsApp group. You might even want to discuss what you're doing, or if you have any challenges or questions in the WhatsApp group, so you can get other people's perspectives on how they're answering their questions. Okay, I'll stop right there and I'll see if there are any questions. Okay, are there any hands up? Does anyone have a question about the assignment that's due by August 4th? Any questions?
Hello, Marianne.
Yes, hello.
Yes, this is Nelly. No, for me, I joined a bit late after like 2 sessions. So I don't know what happens to me.
Okay, no problem at all. So Nelly, if you've joined after 2 sessions, that's okay. You can still earn your certificate and you can still work towards this assignment document. All you have to do is just access the Google Drive link here that has been shared in the WhatsApp group. Are you part of the WhatsApp group?
No, I tried to join, but again, it's telling me to download my WhatsApp group, so I've not managed to join yet. I've been trying in vain.
Okay, no problem. We'll help you to join later on today. If you can send me your number in the WhatsApp group, we'll add you directly. But also we've shared this via WhatsApp or via email too. But if you open up this Google link, this Google Drive link here, you can access sessions 1 and sessions 2, the 2 that you've missed. And you can watch the recording from the session. and then check the PowerPoint. There are questions there in the PowerPoint that you can answer, and just write up a short paragraph on your perspective, your answers to the questions that you missed, and submit it to us. And that will be enough to show that you have attended the session. If you've watched the recording and if you've looked at the PowerPoint and sent your responses to the 3 questions that were used for discussion that day. Is it clear?
Yes, it's very clear. Thank you so much, Marianne.
Oh, of course, no problem. Does anybody else have a question?
Hello, Marian.
Yes, is that Cosmos?
Yes, yes. Maybe one more explanation to add from what Marian has said is that those questions that we are talking in the breakout rooms, they are always in the PowerPoint presentations about the last session. Maybe you can click one so that they can see where they are located. And every time they are named breakout sessions. Now then you can respond to those questions and then send your responses to the email provided.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Here, those are the breakout session questions. You can see there are 4 what are already existing in terms of competence development, what challenges. Now those questions, you respond to them and then you send it to the email provided in each of the presentations that you missed. Thank you.
Thank you. Well guided.
That's great. Any other questions, anyone? You can raise your hand or just unmute and speak. Okay, if there are no questions, that's fine. What we'll do is that we'll post this again, this assignment document in the WhatsApp group and also via email, and have a look. And if you have any questions, you can respond via email to us, or you can also respond on WhatsApp. The WhatsApp group is our community of practice group. So that is a way for you to get feedback from your peers or from the facilitators quickly. So if you want to share anything that you're working on, maybe you're, for example, maybe you're working on question 3 because you are interested in experiential learning, but you're kind of stuck on maybe C. Maybe you're kind of stuck on how would you ensure that it's integrated in the curriculum. So you could ask that question on the WhatsApp group, and then somebody will be there to help you and give their perspective on that. Or maybe you're working on, say, question 5, formative assessment, but you're not sure what stakeholders you would like to include in this, in your plan. So which stakeholders are most important? Who do you have to think about? You can ask in the WhatsApp group, and somebody else will give their experience. Like, you know, when we are creating reform and assessment, we have to include these national actors, these people at the school level, at the community level, etc. So the plan is here to support you. It's not meant to be extra homework. It's it's meant to be a support to you as you do what you want to do by joining this community of practice, which is to strengthen your own skill set and your own education sector. So that's it. I'll just stop sharing my screen, and hopefully we're looking forward to seeing what you have to say via your submitted assignments. So Cosmos, over to you.
Thank you, Mariam, for the nice presentation that we started. And we thank you for the coordination that you did till today. Now we are in the 8th session. Now, for this time, we expect to hear from you in this session 8, where we are focusing at at the implementing competence-based curriculum and the approaches in teacher preparation, education, and the professional development. And what do we expect? We expect by the end that you will have developed an understanding of the role of communities of practice in implementing CBC at the school level. And also you will be able to explain the current approaches in implementation of CBC in teacher education and teacher professional development, and possibly explore possibilities to sustain and enhance implementation of competence-based curriculum in teacher preparation, education, and the professional development. Now, while we go, now let us go to sending this question to a chat room, where we expect you to discuss a little bit about how were you trained as a teacher, what was the pedagogical approach in your teacher college, institute, and or any professional development you attended. And then you will help us to write your responses in the chat box. Now we can sending these questions to the chat box so that you can respond, and we continue. You are welcome to respond to these questions. Yes, the question is already in the chat box, and you can start responding. And while you are responding, Marian, you can give us the small music that you had, and this maybe can take us for 3 minutes, will be enough, because some of the conversation had already started in the WhatsApp group, but there are those who missed this, then we can share it now. You are warmly welcome to share your experiences. Marian, help us that music that entertain, so that as we do, we are also getting entertained. Thank you.
All right, Cosmos, I can share the music, but if I do, then I cannot, they cannot see your slide, remember? So then I'll be sharing.
I have already said, yes, I have sent a question to the chat box. Now the answers will be from their chat box. Each one has in the chat box.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Master KIX Africana, it's time to go to school. Wake up! Let's go to school, so we never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school, so we never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. I wake up in the morning, I wash up my face, I lift up my eyes and pray to the Father to guide on my way. I look into my future, this how I want to be. I can never be so sad, worried in my life. Ndi mugumuni no musinji, okusoma anti kwe musinji is the key to the future. Everywhere I go, let's go to school, so we never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school, so we never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. I wanna be a doctor when I grow up. Treat all my friends and the people at home. Teach them to love my mother and my father, my country. Banina mwesu vitene. What the physics of love. So go wasaba. Have a dream in your life, never give up. Clean your shoes, pack up your books, pick up your pen and go. Let's go to school, so we never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school, so we never retire. I will never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Oturoto kumacha tunuma na yo inokutwele osa okelenkela ngoli muwanguzi ndi munyikivu kati ngoba kiloto enkuba naye ngenda mu maaso njagala bucenga ndi omukuba lodi ndi mugumu ndino musingi okusoma anti gwe musingi is the key to the future everywhere I go. Let's go to school so we never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school so we never retire. I'll never look my back. Pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go.
Okay, thank you so much for your responses, and you can continue responding. What I have now is that most, they say it was lecture method, and mostly had a little hands-on experience, and only one has shown that had a lot of hands-on micro teaching, peer teaching. Mostly it is that way. Now I see a number of responses are coming up and indicating that the teaching was content-based. And of course, that's why we see these responses. And the teaching practice had 16 weeks. That means 2 months. That was, you were lucky. And also some, they are saying that the training was focusing on teaching a subject area as the main content, and followed by teaching practicum in a school for a term. That is even much bigger. For most of us, the teaching practice was 1 month to 2 months, possibly. And basically, the approach used indicates that the way we are trying. For those who had a lot of micro teaching, peer teaching, hands-on activities within the school, and the teaching practice, that means gave a lot of opportunities. And of course, one has given us a concluding remark to me that I can say most of the teaching approaches were teacher-centered. And this is important that we are learning, and you can continue responding to see how. And Marian, can you share your experience? It seemed to be interesting. Yes, Marian.
Cosmos, did you call on me?
Yes, you can share your experience. Seemed to be interesting.
Okay, sure. I'll start, and then maybe the participants can also have a chance to. So I received a mixture of training that was sometimes it was traditional, where the professors, the facilitators would do more of the speaking and it seems like more of the work than the learners. It was a bit traditional, somewhat content-based, with rather traditional assessment methods. And then sometimes the training that I got was more learner-centered, with active learning pedagogies and activities, as well as individualized mentorship, which I think is important for all learners, no matter what ages we are. So I think that I received a mixture, but my favorite ones were, my favorite combination was when the content was very rich, yet the activities were student-centered. So you could maybe say that the curriculum, the program was content-centered, but the methodology was student-centered. That for me was an effective way, and that's how I try to embody it in my own teaching with my own students. Maybe others can comment too.
Thank you. Neri, I see you also have some nice experience.
Thank you, Dr. Cosmas. Well, mine was content-based. We were taught actually the content in terms of the subjects that I was majoring on. Then very little was done in terms of assessment. We were not well trained in terms of assessment. Then methodologies, quite little in terms of now applying methodologies on how we could teach our subjects. And then that was followed by a practicum in school. We were attached in schools for at least a term where lecturers from our university could come and supervise what we were doing, and then they gave us the grades. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe let me call Christine. You also have a nice experience that you can share with us to try to tell us how you went through.
Thank you, Cosmas. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
you, but yes, now we hear you.
Hello?
Hello, yes, we hear you.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, mine was, it was more of the teacher was at the center of the teaching, the learning, and not the student. And even the seating arrangement made the teacher more superior.
Okay, I think you have a lot of internet challenges. Maybe we will give you an opportunity later on when your internet is stable.
And it was packed with a lot of anxiety, especially during assessment and inspection.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. We see that there is a lot of internet challenges.
Run around when supervisors came to supervise us in the teaching. So I think, well, they did a good job of lecture method.
Yeah. Thank you, Christine. Yeah, thank you so much. And now we see that most of us were trained in different modes and different ways. Some had a teaching practice for longer. Some had a lot of practices at the school level. And some had hands-on activities, some had the teacher-centered, and others had the learner-centered approaches. All of these emanate into the way the curriculum was prepared and implemented by the time. And now we are coming to a place where we need to make change so that we go up with the competence-based curriculum. Now I welcome Professor Ezat. You will give us your experience, how you were trained, but at the same time, after that, you will give us the experience from Uganda. You are welcome, Professor Ezat.
Thank you so much, Cosmas. Good afternoon, everyone. So we're going to share a bit on Ugandan experience. I know that many of you will actually relate with what we have in Uganda here, but we'll talk more about that when I have presented. So Cosmas, maybe you can take me to slide 2. I mean, my first slide of the presentation. Yeah, the next one. This is just the title that I'm going to talk about. So, yeah, so by way of introduction, when we look at the Ugandan context, there are quite a number of reforms that are taking place right now. For example, we've had changes in curriculum, we have had changes in assessment. In the primary school, there's now a requirement that we have continuous assessment as part of the final assessment. It wasn't there before. And at the secondary school level, we've just reviewed our lower secondary school curriculum that creates new things that teachers who are serving may not be aware, but also the ones who are in the training institution may not be having it in their curriculum. And so it creates lots of challenges. And we do know that a teacher is really the most important influencing factor in a school in improving learning outcomes. And so Nailo and Said actually quite mentioned that if we are to improve quality of education, then we need to modify teacher education curriculum, recruitment, as well as the way we train the teachers in service. And in Uganda, government has actually prioritized teacher education. I will speak a little bit about it at the end, because I had an entity right now that is planning to set up a degree awarding institution for teachers. And we're trying to see how to fill the gaps that has been existent in teacher education training in this country. Next slide. Cosmas, the next slide. Yes. So how are teachers trained in Uganda? Can I put off my video now that you've seen my face? Thing is warning me that I have a low bandwidth. So in Uganda, we have training at 3 levels. The primary school teachers are trained in the PTC, and the curriculum of the PTC is actually competence-based, and it's aligned to the primary school curriculum. But we also have teachers who are trained at what we call national teachers colleges. Now, in these institutions, they're supposed to go and teach in lower secondary. And the curriculum in this at this level of training is actually having very weak alignment with the secondary school curriculum, because their training remains content-based. They still have curriculum that was designed in early 2000. We even have, I think, some of the late 90s. And so we still have this institution running, and this institution is actually the ones that are going to be taken over by Uganda National Institute of Teacher Education. That is the one we are now establishing as an institution for teacher education in Uganda. But we also have several universities that are training teachers, and the training, unfortunately, still remain content-based, and therefore with little alignment to lower secondary school curriculum. So the issue is that even when we have primary school, let me not talk about the NTCs and the universities, even when we have primary school curriculum being competence-based, the teachers who are coming out of these institutions are not adequately prepared to deliver competence-based curriculum. And so we still have a challenge there as well. And my next slide, please. Cosmas, next slide. Yes. And so I'm speaking about what is currently pertaining. So PTCs, I have said, have competence-based curriculum, but the teacher educators delivering this curriculum are not prepared on how to deliver competence-based curriculum. And so the question is, who prepares teacher educators to do it well? If they are supposed to teach pre-service teachers, who prepares them to enable them to do well? So we have a gap here that teacher educators are not adequately prepared to deliver competence-based curriculum. And as a result, there's inadequate preparation of pre-service teachers on competence-based curriculum. And another challenge related to that is the inadequate hands-on. You know, if you teach a pre-service teacher, certain pedagogy, if they don't go out and practice it immediately, then the ability of them to do it effectively reduces. And so we have a challenge of inadequate hands-on. And the most critical challenge is that sometimes the changes that are made in, for example, primary school or secondary schools are not immediately translated into changes in teacher education curriculum. And so teachers continue to be passed out with inadequate knowledge, even when the field would have changed completely. And so that really takes us to issues of CPDs. If teachers continue to come out inadequately prepared, it means we have to continuously provide CPDs. And in Uganda, we have CPDs that are initiated by the government, but we also have CPDs initiated by partners. And the challenge we're having here is that some of these CPDs are not systematically provided. You find one entity providing CPD in one area, another one in another area. And the challenge is that sometimes the teachers are so bombarded with different kinds of training, and some of them may not be necessarily addressing the needs of the teachers. And so the issue is, do we first take stock of what the teachers need and then craft our CPD to respond to that? And we do know that sometimes it's going to be so varied depending on the numbers of teachers that we have. And that is why, as we set up Uganda National Institute of Teacher Education, we are also thinking about a very clear framework of offering CPDs so that teachers begin to have choices on the CPDs that they think best address their needs at a particular time. So our thinking is that you have CPDs and float it out there in the market and say, we have this in the next 6 months, which one do you want to take? And you're actually able, teachers are able to choose, and they go for the relevant CPDs. So in Uganda, CPDs are available. Next slide. Our next slide, please. On. That was the, go to the next. So there, we're saying that CPD is available. For primary school is a little bit well coordinated because we have clustering of primary schools around training institutions. And can you go back? And the teacher educators in the training schools are able to move to the community, to the schools, and support the teachers in those schools. But the issue is that it's accessed by few, and many times it's a one-off, and we think that one-off training is not adequate. And so we are repackaging our training in such a way that there's continuity, there is follow-up, and we will have a system where the head teachers are also trained to keep monitoring and giving follow-up. The other challenges around the facilitators. Are the facilitators themselves competent enough in the area of CPDs that they're providing? Some may not, some may be. And so we are again looking at this. How do we ensure that CPDs are actually offered by those who have skills and competence in that particular CPD? And of course, we know that effective CPD is offered in the style in which you want the teachers to emulate. If, for example, you want your teachers to be learner-centered, then the CPDs must be learner-centered. The CPD must be hands-on if you want them to do it, because they will replicate what the facilitators of CPDs are doing. And so we're trying to think around that in order to change the way our CPDs are offered in Uganda. Next slide, which is, I think, actually my last slide. Next slide. Okay, so as a final word, CPD is not yet well stressed in our teacher education. Our hope is that when UNITEC comes in, and I must say that our curriculum is competence-based, and our starting point as we finalize, we've already finalized the development of the curriculum. We are now beginning to write a manual on training of our lecturers on how to deliver and how to assess competence-based curriculum, and we don't want it to be a one-off. Our thinking is that it will go on until the first cohort of graduates from this institution get out. So as at the moment, not well stressed, we're planning to do that. Monitoring of implementation will need to also strengthen in that. And I'm just noting that so far we don't have close relationship and sharing of information among pre-service teachers and providers of CPDs. This is the partners as well as the universities, for example. And there is really a need for close alignment. You know, you can give CPDs, but we need to have a point at which some of the content of CPD gets into initial teacher education, and you have alignment, close alignment, so that the CPDs just become incoming things that are not there, that needs to feed into the curriculum of teacher education, but also the CPD training materials. And we believe that if we have this close alignment, then it's going to be easy for us to get the most critical thing to give to the teachers during the CPD, and what can go into initial teacher education goes into initial teacher education, so that we don't repeat CPDs on the same thing that they can train pre-service teachers on, and therefore not be cost effective in our training programs. Next slide, I'm not sure I have a next slide, but I think these are really my thoughts as I speak about pre-service training in relation to CBC, as well as professional development for teachers. We are hoping that with this institution, we will be able to fill some of the gaps that I've highlighted here. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor. Really, we are so happy to have shared that you have shared your experience. Now we see what are coming up as the issues to take out, to go as takeaways. We feel that there are issues related to changes of curriculum, and also the alignment that if we need to implement competence-based, the alignment. That means even in our assignment, then this is a good way of a good material that can help us to see where do we miss. We thank you so much that you have also introduced how teachers training is not in relation to what is practiced in the schools, that the school has a competence-based curriculum and the teacher training does not. And also we see a lot of issues that are coming up, and that primary schools, they now continuous assessment will be taken up. This is a very good innovation, because most of the time primary school are tested by just the final exam and not the continuous assessment. I think we need also to look at how we can ensure. And this is the challenge also that comes in. And also the challenge on how do we do the monitoring. Of course, without monitoring, things cannot go well. Now I welcome participants who have views. Maybe welcome, Fika, if you have anything.
Thank you, Cosmas, and thank you, Professor, for sharing your experience on how you prepare teachers in Uganda, and also the way CPD is conducted. As you said in your introduction, what you presented here might be very similar to our Tanzanian context. I can give, for example, an example when we changed the curriculum, primary school curriculum.
Excuse me, sorry, because there's a problem.
2015. But up to the moment in your teachers' college, they're still using the curriculum which was prepared in 2009. So you can see there is a mismatch between what is happening in primary schools and what is happening in teachers' college. But the good thing, what we did at Tanzania Institute of Education, we managed to orient all tutors at the National Teachers College so that to be able to prepare teachers, pre-service teachers, so that they can cope with what is happening in our primary education. For example, when our pre-service teachers go to their teaching practice, they not be surprised what is happening. So that's why we say that even if the curriculum at the teachers college level still outdated, but we need to equip tutors with the changes which we did in our primary schools. So this is how we manage to cope, but most of the things which you have presented are quite similar in our Tanzanian context. So with the interest of time, I think we can hear maybe 3 or 4 from other countries. What are we learning from the Uganda experience? You can talk anything, or even what surprised you about the Uganda experience. So we can hear welcome from different countries to share your experience. Anyone from Kenya or Malawi? Please, let us reflect on Uganda's experience. Welcome, participants. I can try to point. Janet. Janet. Oh, Olive. Welcome, Olive.
Yes,
I can. Yeah.
I've just listened to the Ugandan presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, and I found that most of the challenges that they have are almost similar to our country's context. The teachers need to be prepared, capacity building. I think the capacity building hasn't been done very well. Usually it's a one-off. So I saw a lot of similarities between what Uganda has gone through and what Kenyan context is. Thank you.
Okay,
Hello.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello,
Hi.
we can hear you. Hi.
It's me, Mobur from South Sudan.
Okay,
And
welcome.
it's quite, it's great that our neighbor are actually presenting. We are just neighbors to Uganda. And we have so many similarities, all that the professor presented. All that we have is different. We have a new curriculum. We have developed a new curriculum based on learner-centered method. And we have trained all our teachers because we're having orientation training, training all the teachers. All that we don't have is the capacity to exercise exactly what Uganda are saying about CPD and other institutions. It is true that we are lacking alignment. We are lacking alignment of the TTI and teacher training institution. They don't have capacity even to deliver according to the new curriculum, which is based on competence-based curriculums. So we have all that challenges, but actually we got a lot of experience from Uganda, which are similar to ours. And I think it's all the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, while we are preparing our breakout sessions, we can also hear from other. Yes. Yes, Ruben, welcome. While we are preparing to go to our breakout sessions, Ruben, welcome to share your experience and reflect on Uganda's. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Of course, we have the challenges as well in Malawi, but looking at competency-based, mainly it was being done in technical colleges. It's now when we are about to introduce the competency-based in the secondary schools, mainly on part of the practicals. On the competency-based, the one which was being done in secondary school was mainly that of theory and wasn't much of it because there wasn't much in terms of the practice. So there is need, of course, to do more of the training to the teachers so that they at least they indulge in the competency-based. Thank you, over and out.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Cosmas, please, if you can cut questions and put in our chat box. Okay, so colleagues, now we are going to group, ICBA Secretariat will help us to group into four groups so that we can have ample time to discuss and share our experience based on these 4 questions. As we can see here, the first question, how are teachers currently trained in your country? What are the pedagogical and curricular approaches currently used in pre and in-service teacher training? And group 2 will work on why is it important for the teachers, trainers, and educators to use competence-based curriculum and pedagogy in teacher pre and in-service training. And the group 3 will work on how can countries address. So thank you so much. So the questions are in our chat box. So please, yeah. So I can see here participants are almost maybe 20, 15. So we can have, Cosmas, what are you saying?
We'll have 2 groups, and then each group will respond to 2 questions and later on share to the plenary session.
So welcome to join the group.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, welcome back.
To the main room. And now I think let us hear from different groups. And because group 1, it is myself who was recording. Then let us hear from group number 2 first, where we hear to question number 2 and question number 3. And let me share those questions in the screen.
Okay, thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of group 2. So as you share the questions, I'll just read us in the chat. We had question 3 and 4. And question 3 reads, how can countries address the challenges of implementing competence-based curriculum in teacher pre-service and in-service training? So we had good sharing from Uganda, Tanzania, Lesotho. And some of the things that we came up with was, the critical one was that we need to have attitude or mindset change, especially among university teacher educators, because they do churn out the largest numbers of teachers who go into our institution. And so the focus should not just be always on the content of the CPD, but also materials that enable them to change their attitude to view competence-based curriculum positively in order to effect it in their training. Tanzania actually has come up with a national framework for CPDs, and the plan is to have a decentralized CPD and then have community of practice at the school level. They've also prepared modules that teachers can read to help them change their practice and improve on delivery of the curriculum, especially at the primary school. Secondary school remains a bit of a challenge. However, there's regular CPDs for this level of education. The other thing is that came up is that the professional boards, if they are active enough, then they would be able to only recruit people who are trained on competence, who have gone through CPDs in order to effectively, of course, implement. Now, in Lesotho, training was mainly done during holidays, and this really ensured that many teachers attended. And so the point is that we need to encourage more training during holidays. Otherwise, the in-service teachers will find it difficult to attend. And then also incentives such as allocation of points. In Lesotho, there are points awarded for CPD, and this goes towards their promotion. In Uganda, the plan is to have CPD having points, and those points will go towards the licensing of teachers that is now going to be periodical. And so that is a motivating factor for teachers to actually attend CPDs. Question 4 is, how could communities of practice be used? Let me just see, in teacher pre-service and in-service training to improve competence-based curriculum delivery in schools. And our discussion focused on the fact that we need to be clear about mentorship and community of practice. And so it's possible to use the mentors in certain situations where you have people who are just coming up, the novices, and then you also have a community of practice for peer sharing amongst people who are already at a certain level. So one can use both in order to improve competence-based curriculum due to being in the community of practice. And then there was also a suggestion that we could have a demonstration of the best CPD. What are the best practice of in CPDs? If that can be demonstrated, and then others will be able to emulate it. We also agreed that it's important to have a school level community of practice, but we also need subject-based community of practice that will bring together teachers who are teaching the same subject, maybe across the district. And if this community of practice that is subject-based meet regularly to share experience on how the learning in the particular subjects they're in charge of is going on, then there will be that sharing of experience and, of course, improvement of practice. We also talked about induction as a critical thing in enhancing teacher practice. And so in the community of practice, if there is induction, you can actually build and contextualize further what has maybe been given in a broader community of practice to the context that will work for your school. I think those are the things that we discussed in our groups. Members of my group, if I forgot something, you can maybe raise it in a minute. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Betty. I think you captured well what we have discussed in your group. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And now we thank you much that you captured most of what was needed on question 3 and 4 about how can countries address challenges. We see you have suggested a number of ways, and this might be useful also for those who will be doing the assignment in the last part of this in the 8th session. We see what I see is more important is the mindset. Change of mindset is very important, but we need to have strategies on how to change this mindset so that at least all we draw the same thing, and then we can be able to implement the competence-based. And in group number 1, we had how are teachers currently trained in your country, and what are the pedagogical and curriculum approaches currently used in pre and in-service teacher training. And mostly in this question, the response were that it is content-based, and that and in some countries, for example, they do not even have the curriculum. It is now that they are preparing their own curriculum. We had experiences from Kenya, Sierra Leone, Somalia, South Sudan, and Kenya, and Malawi. All indicates, including myself, Tanzania, all we have in the teacher colleges, teachers are trained using the content-based curriculum, and we expect them to do what we call CBC in the schools. The pedagogical approaches, there are many, some including the micro-teaching is done, also the lecture method, and mostly, and some hands-on during the teaching practice is done. And also a few now are coming with ICT, the blended mode, and almost how we approach the other approach is cascade model. And also we're trying to see involvement of the online teacher education to support to support teacher training in order to be able to implement the CBC. And in the question number 2, why is it important? Almost all, we feel that it is important. Why? Because there are so many issues that we need to, they need to be catered out. One of them is that when the teachers are not trained in CBC, how can you expect them to implement in the classroom? And this was even more important, that government has to ensure that there are frameworks that can help to ensure that teachers also are well versed in the implementation of competency-based curriculum. And also there's a need to ensure the online learning. Why? There is a change also in the technology. Even there was an example example that happened during the last 2-3 years about the COVID, where the learning had to stop. But for those countries that had some ICT pedagogical aspect embedded in their teaching, learning continued. And this gives us an important aspect that we might need in order to continue, so that we can help our teachers. Maybe from the group, if there's anybody who can contribute, please, you are welcome.
Thank you, Doctor. I think you have highlighted everything we were able to discuss. And that part of technology also is very, very important. Like you already mentioned during the COVID, you know, most teachers that we are not using technology, could not able to reach their children or their pupils. I think that's one also is very, very important, and it must be emphasized. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And from any other one, maybe if there's anyone who would also want to contribute, just one person. Okay, thank you. Now we see from all this discussion, we see there is a lot of need for communities of practice. Why? We see that teacher professional learning has to be enhanced, teachers' collaboration has to be enhanced, and also the COP removes teacher isolation and creates a learning space, and also supports pedagogical innovation, encourages change, and also sometimes encourages the continuous learning. Why we feel that communities of practice, as we were doing, we might be important. We see that teachers for so long have been alone, and now they need to work together. A problem of a teacher was centered around the teacher, him or herself. Now with the communities of practice, it's not my problem. It becomes our problem. And then how to solve it becomes even easier. And we see that the experience has indicated a mismatch between teacher education and the implemented curricula, a way in which we a way that can help us. We see that a community of practice could be more important. Why communities of practice is important? It is that with the CBC, we need people who are able to do. We need to focus on the context. There is a lot of reflection, and there are a lot of need to relate to content, and also to ensure that the knowledge being taught can be used, and we have to become the agent of change. That's why each has to have knowledge, has to have skills, has to have attitude. Attitude is about desire. A question, why do I do it? Skills about satisfying the attitude. Tools to do it. Which tools do I need so that I do something? And knowledge is about how to do it sustainably. And maybe the competence-based curriculum, we see that we need to, elements that are important, we need to acquire, develop, and apply. Which one? The knowledge, the skills, the values, and the attitudes. And this is important in ensuring that we ensure competence-based is implemented. A number of studies also show that there is a need to implement CBC in our schools. And now let me welcome Muhando. If you have anything to add, I see Muhando, welcome.
Yeah, sure, surely. Thank you very much, Cosmos, for the briefing that you've given us. But may I say something about the CBC? In CBC, our focus is in creating people, focusing on development of people, development of personality, development of life skills, people who are confident, people who are conscious of themselves, conscious of the society, people who have identity, and people who have the rigor to change themselves and change the world. You see, it's not just a mission, it's a will to will. I mean, it's something which is so much intentional. And when we come to teachers, we have to see that the teaching profession is much more different from the rest of the professions that we have. Much more different from what we had with medicine, with law, and engineering. Teachers deal with very complicated intentions. Teachers have to negotiate their own intentions, intentions of the curriculum, intentions of the texts, intentions of the society, intentions of the entire government. So teachers really need to be very, very reflective in order to create people who can reflect. And I urge that attention has to be paid to development of CBC, and we cannot emancipate ourselves without this kind of attitude or this kind of inclination towards competence development. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Muhando, for your nice explanation that, of course, we need those things so that we can ensure that we create reflective people. We have teachers themselves, ourselves to become reflective so that we can create people who can reflect, people who are change makers. Now, back to Marian. Thank you so much for this session.
Thank you, Cosmos, for that. And thank you, Anea, for coming in towards the end. Such an interesting discussion. I've been following, I've been listening along to your points. There's so much here, so much richness of experience and knowledge in this room right now. And I want you to think about that this is a community of practice. We are a group of people who have decided to become partners and learn together. The learning doesn't end with the ending of this workshop today. It's really just beginning. And there's a lot more potential for discussions like this to continue on WhatsApp. We just need your input. We just need a comment, a question, an emoji, sharing of a news article, sharing of something that your country's working on in the WhatsApp group on an ongoing basis. And that will keep this community and this discussion alive. Today, we've heard a lot of really interesting ideas about teacher education, both in service and pre-service. And it's clear that you have a lot to say about this topic. We might even consider that this is the bedrock foundation of the education system is teachers and the way the teachers are capacitated and the way that we view teachers as not as inputs in a system, but as people, as learners, as human beings, and as people who are developing their, as Mr. Muhando said, their personalities, their skills, their competencies, and their humanities in order to teach their students effectively. We've learned that there's this mismatch between teacher education and the education that is implemented in schools. So the key message that I think we can take away from all of this is that, as Dr. Betty Azati said, the style of education in teacher pre-service and in-service programs has to match the style of education that teachers are supposed to emulate in the classroom. We cannot, as teacher trainers or as in whatever capacity that we work, we cannot teach teachers, train teachers in one way and then ask them to do something different in the classroom. They are learners in the space that they come to learn in, whether it's a teacher institute, a college, a professional development program at the school level or at the cascading level, whatever it is, they are learners then. If we want them to help their own learners in their classrooms, we have to help them learners in that space that they're in. So there's a lot of key messages here today, a lot of great things that we've learned. And again, this is just the beginning. We're not ending with this workshop. The discussions should continue on WhatsApp and via email. And we're also going to be having a meeting after some time to see what you have taken away from these 8 sessions and what you've been doing in your own countries because of these 8 sessions and how the community of practice could better serve you throughout this year. So I'm going to ask my colleague Hundessa from UNESCO ICPA to come in for a minute and share the survey that he's asking everyone to complete. This survey will really help us, and we're asking that you take it. So let's take a minute to look at what the survey looks like. Hundessa, please go ahead, and if you can share your screen, that'd be great.
Thank you so much, Marian. Could Dr. Cosmos may stop sharing the screen? Thank you, Dr. Cosmos. Thank you for actively participating in all the 8 sessions to everyone. We are very much glad and grateful to that. I put this survey which you are looking on the chat box. This survey, the today's survey is more has additional questions. It's about 14 questions. It is instrumental for everyone to respond to this survey because it helps us for our future collaboration beyond the community of practice. It's more of which we are familiar with to gauge your satisfaction level, the usefulness of the workshop, and the effectiveness of the workshop, and what are the key knowledge takeaways or skills that you have gained from today's sessions, how exactly you have planned the learning or the knowledge you gained to apply it in your area of responsibilities, and how do you rate the usefulness of this entire community of practice, and what areas of the community of sessions you find most relevant and applicable to influence your national education system. And also, we want to learn more about in order to help you in your future interests in areas of gaps, and what are the areas you still want to learn more about, so that we'll be able to design a curriculum or a community of practice based on need-based or based on your needs. These are the surveys. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Kindly, everyone is encouraged to respond to this survey, as it will be instrumental for our future collaboration between the Secretariat and the member countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Hundessa, for that. I'm going to also share my screen, Hundessa, if that's okay, and then we'll just end. We'll end here. So everyone, thank you very much for coming to these 8 sessions, and the discussions are not over. They're
Can
really
you send the survey link on WhatsApp? The survey link on WhatsApp. Can you send it on WhatsApp?
Yes. Yes, thank you, John.
Okay.
Hundessa will share the
Okay.
survey on WhatsApp. Thank you. And also, anyone who's not on the WhatsApp group yet who wants to be, please give your number. We can also drop a link to join the WhatsApp group in the chat box. But if you'd like to join and you're not part of it, this is the last chance to join the WhatsApp group that we have for this community of practice. And again, the WhatsApp group will continue. It's not ending with this this session. We're expecting to have a meeting after some time, and we're asking you in the survey to also tell us when do you want to have this meeting. But we're going to be meeting up with you after a short while to learn about how you have been implementing CBC or CBE reform in your countries. And you could be at various stages, maybe at the beginning stages or at the middle stages of that, but we'd like to know how we can better support you and if you'd like to have further workshops in the future. Okay, we're getting some feedback from people in the chat box. That's great to hear that you found it fruitful. And if you didn't, also let us know how you could use some more support. Maybe there's some research that you'd like to learn more about for a specific area that you find challenging, or maybe you'd like to connect with somebody that you met during these workshops. Maybe you'd want to have a further follow-up conversation with the TIE, the Tanzania Institute of Technology of Education team. So there's many ways in which we can support each other in this group. I'm going to end on a happy note. Let's hear the song again. And please fill out the survey as you hear the music at the end. So thank you very much, everybody. So long, and we'll see you soon for a follow-up meeting after some time, maybe a month or a couple of weeks or maybe 2 months. It's your choice when you want to meet us again. Let us know in the survey.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you, Miriam.
Thank you,
bye,
Miriam.
everyone.
Bye.
Mascot
Thank you,
KIX
Marian.
Africana. It's time to
Bye.
go to school. Wake up.